Can we make this honey look warm and glowing and watercolor while still keeping the glass jar clear and believable? Watch how that amber light starts to appear little by little as we build the painting. Hi, I'm Beatriz. Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be painting this jar of honey, and I'm going to show you the order that I follow in order to keep the warm, transparent glow without making the honey look flat or the glass look heavy. I took this reference at a farmer's market, and I love the honey dipping from the dipper, the beautiful amber color inside the jar, and the light passing through it. But I wanted the honey itself to become the whole focus. So I made one big decision. I removed all the busy background and replaced it with a deep dark wash, and I also cropped tightly so that the glow was much easier to see. So what we're waiting for? Let's start painting the background. I am protecting the outer edges of the jar, the dipper, and the table. Since this background will be very dark and wet, this masking fluid is giving us some insurance. I am wetting the background area first so that the dark wash can move smoothly. Because the paper is wet, I will have more time to move the color around. For the dark, I'm using my own black mist, burnt sienna, and French ultramarine, and in a few places I'm dropping a little bit of indigo to create a bit of variation since I want this background dark, but not completely flat. If you want to paint this with me, the Paint Along pack for this tutorial is inside Open Studio on Patreon. You can scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description below. Once the wash is in place, I'm going to let it dry naturally so that the dark area dries as evenly as possible. And once it's dry, I will remove the masking fluid since it was there only to protect the edges. And now I'm going to be adding the masking fluid again, but this time it's going to have a completely different purpose. This time I'm just going to save the highlights inside the jar, because these ones are needed in order for the glass to feel believable, especially since this jar is going to be filled with honey. I'm going to start with an underpainting of a very diluted Indian yellow. This is the lightest color that is in the honey dipper. Before we just concentrate on the honey or the jar, we need to lay all the colors around the painting first. Like I mentioned here, I'm starting my underpainting with what it will be the lighter color of the whole honey in this case, or the lighter color of the wood, or the lighter color of the glass, etc. That way we can build our layers slowly, but that is what is going to give us the glow. For this underpainting here on the table, there's wood, so I'm switching to yellow ochre mixed with a little bit of burnt sienna. For the underpainting of the top of the glass, I'm coming with a very diluted neutral tint. This is my Daniel Smith neutral tint, and I mix it with a little bit of indigo. To build transparency on the honey, we need to keep our layers very diluted and then little by little build them up. For keeping the transparency of our glass believable, we need to also be mindful of where we put our darks, where we have our lights, which we have saved some with the masking already. All right, so now everything is dry. Now we're gonna start painting the honey. I'm not gonna go ahead and start painting brown honey. I want to begin painting the light inside the honey. So this is my Indian yellow, but a little bit darker than the first wash. We're building this very slowly, but that's the way that it needs to be. And as I come in to where it will be lighter, which is around this area, I bring the wash with more water. I have like a highlight here at the bottom, which I'm gonna paint around it. I'm gonna allow the first original very light color to stay over there. And we are building this in very thin layers or glazes, as we call it in watercolor. And this is Indian yellow mixed with a hint of permanent rose, just to warm up a little bit of this all the honey there is and then deeper, but in this case as in wood, so the color is different than the one that is through glass. And with this same color, we're going to start already putting a little bit of the glow or the deepening honey. This one really needs to be transparent, so I'm very careful to see where it goes. So we have to be very careful. The shadow is in these two, and then we want to keep the deepening honey light in the middle where the light is passing through. And now we're going to put 1/3 layer. This is the same color, but I'll warm it up with permanent rose. This part is a little bit darker, so I can come. That's why I always start from the left to the right. Over here, you can do one or two things. You can go with lighter colors, or you can give yourself a little bit of insurance and then just wet around it. Then continue to build your thin layer. I want to start building shape, so this may have to be a little bit darker than what it is right now, but I want to start building it, so I'm going to leave them lighter, and then we can always come back and darken it up. But this is giving me the roundness of the bottom of the jar. I'm only coming till here. This is kind of like the rim where how full the jar is, and yes, I will have to do something with that, but I'm reserving that for later. However, while this is drying, one thing that I can do is I can go ahead and start darkening this a little bit. I need to make sure I don't rest my hand in the wet jar, but obviously the start of the painting here is the jar of honey and the deeper. So this, I don't want to put a whole lot of detail. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because it's just here to support it. But we can leave it unpainted, obviously. So light is hitting a little bit more here at the edge. So I'm gonna allow some of that underpainting to show. Yes, finally this part of the wood is gonna be darker, so more of the neutral tint mixed with the burnt sienna. It is a little bit of light reflected in this corner. I don't want to lose it, so I paint around it. Since I have my color here, there's a little bit of an indentation that it gives it as it is texture. So let me put it over there and let me darken a little bit here and there. I have some of the color here, so I can just put it as if it is a little bit of a dry brush. I'm not spending a whole lot of time here. So I'm coming with another layer. This time I wet around, and we're gonna start warming up these colors of the honey. But now that we have put the table, you see how it's starting to get everything, the whole painting feel more believable. I'm coming with translucent orange. This is a color by Sminky. That's the one that I have in my palette, but any orange that is transparent, that is not opaque or semi-opaque, will do. So again, I put in the color. I come with a brush that only has water, and then I start blending because I don't want to lose the highlight that I've been building. So this side of the jar will be with darker colors. I still building them slowly because the translucent of the colors don't come just by the color itself. It comes by allowing the whiteness of the paper, the brightness of the paper to come through. We'll have it on the bottom. Let's just bring it on the top as well. I want to start building the form of this dipper, so I'm going to come with burnt sienna, and I'm going to start painting some of the parts that are deeper and darker. Therefore they are darker because less of the light is hitting them. But I just want to establish the form. Bring in a little bit of this burnt sienna to start forming the first drop of deepening honey. At this stage, I have the first layer all over the painting, and the honey is starting to feel warm and luminous. But I do not want to keep pushing the honey and leaving the glass behind. I'm building the honey and the glass at the same time, because the glow of the honey will only work if the jar feels transparent and believable. So now is the perfect time for us to start working on the top of the jar. So let's get to it. Glass reflects the colors that are around them. That's how we do transparency. So some of this honey will come through, but it will also be distorted because of the glass. So I'm gonna come wherever I see some of these warm colors, and I'm gonna put them. I have a couple of videos where I teach how to paint glass, and I will link them if you are interested on that. But basically what we're gonna be doing here is, yes, we are putting the reflected colors, but by doing this we're building all the shape of these rims. They are the thicker part of the glass that is always in the top of this type of containers. And we also build the rest of the honey. We've been putting it from here, but the rest of the honey is around. Yes, it's hidden by the light. So in some of these areas, they're gonna be lighter. Some other ones are gonna be darker. But for right now, we're just gonna start putting the impressions. All right, let's start building a little bit more of the thickness of the honey. We still want the transparency, but we want to start giving it a little bit of a stickiness characteristic of it. This is on Sienna by Winsor & Newton. The reason I mentioned the brand is because this one tends to be a little bit more on the orangey size. Obviously we're gonna come with more color, but I want to start giving the roundness of the bottom of the jar as well. So I'm gonna start being a little bit mindful of that. Right now is a good time for that. We'll start getting darker, so I come with more color. So to the burnt sienna, I'm adding just a hint, very lightly, of neutral tint. And we're gonna start making this a little bit darker, but not darker, less brighter, so it starts turning. And then I'm gonna bring a little bit of burnt umber, and then we're gonna start doing the turning at the bottom of the jar, more to less over there, and then I'm gonna start blending it. Start giving this form, so I'm gonna allow for a little bit of lightness up there. Go from more to less. Every time that I go with something darker, everything else will look a little bit too pale. So what I'm doing is I'm coming directly with my darkest darks that are gonna come over here. This is my burnt umber with a little bit of burnt sienna, but obviously thicker. Yes, these dark colors, very dark colors, against all the very pale ones, makes it for right now to be looking a little bit awkward, but bear with it, it's gonna make sense in a second. So this is drying, and we're allowing this to dry, so this is the perfect time to go ahead and start darkening the background of this glass. Glass takes on the color that is behind them or around them, and that's how it gives the impression of being transparent. So what is behind this is black. Obviously it's not going to be as dark because it's going through the glass, but it needs to be a lot darker than what it is right now. So I'm coming here, not with the black that I was using, but with neutral tint mixed with a little bit of indigo. And then in some places I put it full strength, and then in the other ones I come and I blend. So the best way to look at this is, instead, when you're painting it, instead of just saying, well, I'm doing this edge, or look at it as the abstract shapes they are forming, which they are there. And then just go like, well, this part is light, this part is dark. And if you keep building like that, eventually you will end up with a very realistic glass. So wet over here. Then I come in with burnt sienna and translucent orange once again. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start switching to burnt umber with the translucent orange. And then I'm gonna bring some of these darks over here. And then I'm going to blend this in the middle. Instead of coming with only water, I'm coming with burnt sienna. Burnt sienna here before I start getting a hard edge. Burnt sienna with burnt umber. Let's just drop them here. Okay. And then just blend. We're going to start forming this rim a little bit more, so let's just put it here too. And especially it's thicker over here. Alright, with the tip of my brush, we blend. You see how the glow is developing by putting the layers that we were having, and these dark colors, they are still transparent. They are bringing the shape, the form, and the glow. We need these darks over here, but we cannot lose the color of the honey, so I'm coming back with the burnt sienna, burnt umber color. We're going to put that on top of our darks here at the bottom, and then we're gonna blend them. A little in the center, and the roundness of the bottom of the jar. Right, so we're gonna put this color over the dark color that we put first. This one has a little bit of a highlight here in the middle that I wanna preserve. Now we start bringing a little of the more of the burnt sienna with burnt umber. Right now this is looking same color as this, but we will have to darken it up so it looks more like wood. The honey, I'm very pleased, but we still have to darken it a little bit more as well as this. While this dries, let me finish the table. Some of the colors of them that I've been using, I'm putting them here. Go with water and pretend like if they are a little bit of the texture of the wood. Let's just put a little over here as well. Again, I just drop some. I go with a brush that has very little water, therefore it's gonna spread, but not a whole lot. And that is creating the texture of the wood. I'm coming with neutral 10 with a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm gonna drop a few grays here and there too. We are gonna go ahead and finish this up. I'm coming with darker colors, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and a hint of neutral 10. And this is gonna start allowing the colors of the wood. Then the honey that is stick to the dipper, we're gonna allow these colors that we've been building slowly but surely to show. Sienna and burnt umber, and we're gonna start darkening this. Once we know how dark the separatory line is, then we can go darker. I've been putting some of these colors here too because there'll be a reflection of that, plus some of the honey that is around. I don't want to put a straight line. We're just gonna break it, put a little bit there, and then we're gonna start darkening this up from more, come to water to less. In some areas, like around here, I can come with more burnt sienna and warming it up a little bit. And bring it up, and then top with water. Some more of the kind of Indian yellow here or there. And we still had to go one more pass to darken this honey. So I'm thinking that at this point, that's what I'm gonna do, because once I do that, then I will be able to gauge better how dark or light to go into this area. So this time we're gonna start from the bottom, for the parts that are dark. So burnt umber mixed with translucent orange. I am continuing to put my paint diluted. Cover this, make kind of thin line coming over here, and I'm gonna bring some of that here. Top, all right. And then I have the dark, and now I can put, instead of blending with only water, I can blend with a little bit of this gray, very diluted gray that I have in my brush. So let's move with this color, this dark color that I have. Let's just move and put some darks over here. My next darker color besides that is here. I already have some of them established, but it will come more. So again, I bring it out. Now again, with my orange, translucent orange, I blend. When I say I'm blending, I mean I go with my brush that has the translucent orange and I just drop it. I am not rubbing, I just dropping the color, okay? Because if I rub, I will disrupt all these colors that we've been building so carefully. Now I rinse, and then when it comes over here, I just have the transition with only water. Now we have all the light coming through the honey. However, I need to put some darks over here, but it's too wet. So this is the perfect time for me just to finish a couple of things here. The honey dripping, then we will come for the cast shadows, etc., and it'll be done. Let's start with the honey dripping. The Indian yellow mixed with a little bit of permanent rose. I'm gonna come a little there. Then I'm gonna blend. I wanna have almost like a highlight right there. That is gonna read almost like white. This is brown, and then from the brown it starts going gray. So let's just make the transition. Bring the gray into the brown, and then bleed it out. Let's just bring this has dried enough, so now just come and put some of these darks for the dripping honey. This is the burnt umber with a little bit of the neutral tint. It's a little too thick, it's not leaving my brush, but that's okay because I want it thick so that it stays where I put it. So I come with one that has water, and voila, we get it done. That in one end. So now we need to bring it up and to this other one. So the dripping keeps going, but now over here is where it's gonna start getting a little distortion. So instead of being straight now, it cannot twist. Broken it up. Come a little bit more over here. And we got the second one around here. I just finished this bottom and pretty much this will be done. However, first we need to put, this is the burnt umber with a neutral tint. I'm gonna put it kind of like in the outside, what will be the outside of the jar. However, it's not the cast shadow yet. The cast shadow will come very soon. Maybe a little bit darker here as well. So make this jar turn a little bit more. Let's put some of this cast shadow, and it's the darkest color, especially closer to the jar, and then we will see if we had to do anything else on that. I'm coming with this is burnt umber with neutral tint, and then I go with that. Then I come with the burnt umber and orange, and then I put some of that reflection, and I let these two blend. Alright, I'm gonna go from more to less, so I put some of these dark colors over here. Lighter. I really like this glow over here. This glow is adding to the glow of our honey jar. Let's this turn a little more by putting a little bit more dark. Put a little bit of dark, and sometimes we come and lift a little. Let's see if the dark will work over here. I think maybe that's enough. And I think that we accomplished what we set up to do, which was to make this honey glow inside this glass jar. Here it is, our finished glowing honey jar. For this painting, it was important to keep the golden layers transparent, and then when we added the amber tones, both of them continue to show to keep the glow going. Also, for the glass, it's important to save the highlights and put the darker colors where it belongs, a little bit of the reflected color in order to make the glass believable. I hope that this painting show you how you can keep the transparency of the glass and the glowing of the honey together. If you want the paint alone pack, it's in my Patreon, which will be linked below. As always, I thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video.